Hey guys, welcome to Smart Talk Wrestling Reviews. I am your host, Boise, and we've got two back-to-back NXT UK episodes to review. So to make this really quick, we're going to review one and continue the video. And then at the end of this video, we're going to just give a big breakdown of both and, you know, my thoughts of NXT UK. So with all that said and done, let's just hit the music. So our first match of the night on the first episode was Trent 7 taking on Saxon Huxley in a singles match. Now this was quite an interesting match because I honestly forgot all about Huxley. I thought he was someone new to the brand, but no, apparently he took part in the first the first UK tournament. So that was quite interesting for that bit. But apparently he's had a morphosis as a character, seen as being a straight character. Now he's more of on a hero's path, but more like a villain. He acted more like a heel throughout the match, and they were talking about how he's now morphed into this new demigod kind of thing. I was like, what? But yeah, it was an interesting match. I honestly thought this would have been a very quick squash match, but it lasted longer than I expected. And Trent 7 really does show how good he is in the ring. His selling is fantastic. His ability to make his opponents look good as well. And I think that was a really good selling point. You know, Huxley looks really, really intense in the match, which you really want to see. And Trent 7, he's just a fan favourite through and through. So watching him taking part in this match was really great. I think it just shows, look, he's in the most popular tag team in the NXT UK brand, but he's also going to be competing as a singles competitor, which I don't mind at all. I thought the match was fine. Again, this is just introducing new people to the brand. Obviously, he's not going to be one of the big faces of NXT UK just yet. So it was kind of an obvious victory for him, for Trent 7. So with that all said and done, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10 because it was entertaining. It did introduce a new character and it added something on to the episode after this. So yeah. Next up we had Mark Coffey versus Flash Morgan Webster, and Joe Coffey was on the ringside. This was interesting. This is continuing the feud between Travis Banks, Webster, and Mark Andrews versus the Coffeys. And I think this was alright. I think this was a really good match. It shows how dominant Mark can be as well. Because Joe's, let's be honest, Joe is the bigger name out of the two brothers. But Mark is a very talented wrestler himself, and this really showed his ability. It showed how good the mob father really is in the ring as well. He's already a fan favourite, and you know, he's really intense. He's a great high flyer. He's got great technical skills. And again, this is just an introduction to two wrestlers who've been on the show a few times. They've had, they've been on special, the UK specials and stuff like that. But this is their first time on the NXT UK brand as a match. And I thought this was a great introduction match for both men. Shows Mark being a very aggressive heel type of character, where it shows Morgan Webster as a very determined babyface kind of guy. Doesn't matter if it's two men around him or just one, he will go all out. And I thought this was really well put together. So for me, I'm going to give it another 6 out of 10. Again, these are just introduction matches, but it does add layers to the storylines which we're getting. Small little storylines between the Coffeys and, this little group of baby faces in this. So this will add and add and add. So for me, I'm enjoying this right now. Next up, we had Gradwell versus Danny Burch. Danny Burch from NXT has arrived onto NXT UK as well. He is one of my favourite NXT superstars, very underrated. He's a 15-year veteran. He had one of the most standout matches for NXT where him and his tag team partner Hawkins just took on Undisputed Era, and it was like that match where no one was really interested, and then the match came and everyone was like, oh my god, this was a fantastic match. And yeah, this was a really good introduction for Burch for the UK brand. Again, he's a big name. He's a big name. He's not the biggest name on NXT, but coming to NXT UK, he's already automatically in that upper tier going, I'm a big, you know, he is a huge name for the brand right now. And Sam Gradwell, who was also in the first UK tournament, he's the guy who got chucked off the stage by Pete Dunne. Remember when Pete and William Regal and Triple H and all those, like, we had to split them all apart? Yeah, that's the guy who got taken out by Pete Dunne. And this was quite an interesting match, hard-hitting match. It's really good. Both men just, you know, good chemistry between both guys, really. I thought this was really, like, this is what you want to see. Both men were not holding back, very strong style. And after the match, after Danny Burch won his first match in NXT UK, he called out Pete Dunne, and he's like, he was getting interviewed by the backstage guy. I'm not sure what his name is. I need to really remember that at some point. But he got interviewed by him after the match, and he said, what's next for you? And he wanted Pete Dunne. He goes, look, Pete, I'll be in the changing room, right in the corner. If you want to take me on, I'm ready anytime. That's a really great style. He also talked about him being the first man to really bring British strong style to the mainstream, which was, you know, he's quite correct. He is a hard-hitting man, and when you think of British strong style, he's one of the first guys you think of bringing that style of wrestling to the world. So for me, again, a great introduction for two wrestlers into the NXT UK brand. So for me, I'm again another 6 out of 10. This moved us on to our main event of this episode, and that was Noam Dar versus Zack Gibson. And this was all built up from a previous episode where they're both calling each other, nearly went into blows, but the general manager of NXT UK just said no. You'll do it this week, and now we finally got it, and it was a really good match. Both men really putting out everything. This was one of my favourite matches of the week. Both men just showing exactly how great. I like Noam Dar as a babyface. I couldn't really get into him as being a heel. I never understood why when he first came to WWE, when he first signed, he was straight away put as a heel. It just made no sense. Now that he is a face on NXT UK, the crowd just get behind him. He's so much fun and entertaining. I'm not saying he's not entertaining as a wrestler when he's a heel, but there's a lot more energy when he's a babyface. It feels like that's more natural for him as a superstar to be a babyface. But there's always those characters. There's always those guys who are better at being a babyface than a heel, like Daniel Bryan. He's always better at playing a babyface than a heel, and Noam Dar for me feels exactly in that same kind of category. He's very good at being a babyface. He's alright at being a heel. But the match itself was brilliant, very hard hitting. Zack Gibson showing why he got to the finals at last UK tournament. He was brilliant in this whole match, and both men giving it all, and it looked like they just used every single bit of energy they had, and it just, even the last stretch of the match where both men are just trying to beat the crowd. By this point, Noam Dar's arms destroyed because of Zack Gibson's submission techniques. Zack Gibson's legs destroyed thanks to Noam Dar's submission. It was just such a hard-hitting match and such entertainment. I wanted it to last a little bit longer. We had a really good chunk of time with it as well, but I was still like, I want more. And that tells you that's the category of this type of match, where both men have such good chemistry, and yet you still want more from them. And this is the type of match which definitely gave us that. Very good introduction for Zack Gibson. He's already been kind of introduced already, but this is his first match on NXT UK, and what a match for him to come into. I'm going to have to give this a solid 8 out of 10. Worth watching, guys. Check it out on the network. And there you go, guys. That's the first episode of this week's NXT UK. What did I think? I thought it was fantastic. I'm going to give it a quick score of a 7 out of 10. Still really well being built up, storylines and everything like that are continuing, especially with the Coffey brothers, Zack Gibson. You know, the heels, they're starting to build the heels up really well. They're starting to really get a focus on the baby faces, and I really enjoy that. So yeah, definitely a you know, solid performance in this episode. Goes on to the second episode of this week, where we started off with our first ever NXT UK tag team match, and it was Moustache Mountain versus Gradwell and Huxley. And this, you know, it was great that Huxley came back. You know, he had a good match against Trent Seven in the previous episode, to him getting another opportunity. And again, this just shows you how big Moustache Mountain are, because the crowd are just automatically into everything they do, chanting "big strong boys, big strong." How did I find the first NXT UK tag team match? It was fun. It was fun. Definitely for me, Moustache Mountain, they need to have real competition. I was hoping the Coffey brothers, I need to say that. Coffey brothers are, for me, who should be roundabout near the same level as Moustache Mountain. Need to, you know, they need to collide at some point. I think those two are going to be the biggest tag teams in the NXT UK tag team division right now, but we'll have to wait and see. But the match itself was fine. Very, very dominant from the heels at the beginning, and then obviously Moustache Mountain getting the momentum. Trent Seven and Tyler Bates really working together fantastically. Trent Seven looked like he got injured by his, Bates, but he got back up after the pinfall. And yeah, so for me, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. Very interesting first tag team match. There's a few mistakes, but you know, it's building up a new division from scratch. Next up, we had Nina Samuels taking on Isla Dawn. There was a lot of mistakes in this match. It's Isla's first NXT UK match, and she's a witch. She was trained by Aleister Black. Dawn, you know, it just feels like there's a lot of work in the NXT UK women's division, but you know, it's good that, you know, not just all the big names get all, you know, TV time all the time, like Toni Storm or Dakota Kai or, you know, Ripley. Girls like them, they are really great, and but we need to build up new stars to take them on, and Dawn and Samuels are definitely two you can see the company are very much going to invest quite a bit of time into. Like I said though, there was a few mistakes. I just felt like it ended quicker than it should have done, but end of the day, there was so much mistakes in it. I'm kind of glad this did end quicker than it did. Samuels she had a bit of offensive, but it really again, it's such a quick match. It really wasn't anything more than a couple of minutes. So I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10, guys. Next up, we had Tucker versus Jordan Devlin. Devlin, who's well known for being trained by Finn Balor, also been in both NXT UK tournaments, and Tucker, who's previously been on NXT UK. Now, for me, this was an interesting match. Both guys are very high flyers, very good technical skills, and there's good chemistry between both guys. I think, given time, given the right situation, we could see a great feud build up here. If WWE Creative really used this is a good platform for both guys. This was a great introduction for Jordan. I thought he really well performed here. He showed everyone he's not just, you know, Finn Balor's pupil. He's one of the best in the world, and I think that's a great statement to put onto the show. He's a heel. He doesn't need Finn Balor, and he's going to prove to everyone he's better than the guy who trained him, and that could be something really interesting and well put together if WWE go in that route. Tucker, again, he changed from slightly babyface heel in his last match to playing a full-on babyface in this one, and I think that kind of worked a little bit better in his position. He lost again, did Tucker, unfortunately, but obviously Jordan is the bigger name between the two. But yeah, very good high fly skills, very good technical wrestling, and good submission techniques trying to be put onto both men. So for me, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10, worth checking out just for the techniques alone. And this moves us on to the main event for this episode, and it was Mark Andrews taking on Wolfgang. This was meant to be Travis Banks taking on Wolfgang, but unfortunately he got injured backstage, so they had to make a change, and Mark Andrews volunteered to take on Wolfgang. They had a really good match. It really showed both men at their best. Had plenty enough time for Mark Andrews' high fly skills. It showed the strength of Wolfgang. I am a big Wolfgang fan. I think he's very underrated in wrestling terms because he can pull off high flying moves himself for being such a big guy, and it's always great to see big guys who pull off moves which you don't expect, and Wolfgang can do that. He's a high flyer when he needs to be, but he's a massive ground attacker as well. So he reminds me of a bouncer all the time. He just seems like the guy who can just pretty much test everyone to their limits. And Mark Andrews' high flying skills just show how good he is. He's probably one of the best high flyers on the NXT UK brand right now, and it was a good little mixture between like, let's be honest, a cruiserweight versus a heavyweight. You don't often get to see that on WWE TV, but on NXT you do. You get the good little mixtures where you can show that sometimes the smaller guy can win, and that's what we got. We got a really good match. Andrews got the win over Wolfgang. They showed respect after the match. They shook hands, and then the Coffey brothers came out, Mark and Joe, attacking Andrews. That caused Morgan Webster to come out to help his friend. He got taken out as well, and then Wolfgang, who was watching and surveilling the situation, got into the ring. Both brothers got out. They're looking, and then next thing we know, Wolfgang takes out Webster. That's right, Wolfgang turned. I was expecting it to come because he's a really good heel. If you've seen him in ICW and other promotions, he plays a great heel. He plays a good babyface as well. He's that guy who can switch between the two, and you just enjoy him whichever role he's playing. But yeah, he turned. He's now joined the Coffey brothers, Mark and Joe, and that could be a very dominant faction in the NXT UK brand. So that's great. That's adding more layers. Obviously, we've got the brothers who've had problems with Andrews, Webster, and Banks, and now that they've added Wolfgang to their faction, this could be really, really good, and it could add more layers to the story. I'm really excited to see how this develops. So for me, I'm going to give this, including the run-ins and everything afterwards, an 8 out of 10. Worth watching, guys. Just check it out. And there you go. I'm going to give this episode for NXT UK a score of 7 out of 10 again. It's a great brand to be started watching. If you haven't started it yet, there's only 4 episodes, guys. Check them out. They're just, the introductions to each character has been, I think, been well put together. There's some people who have been squashed a little bit, but obviously it's early days, so their losses don't seem to be that too bad right now. If it continues to happen, like the Coffey brothers haven't won a match yet, and they're meant to be the biggest heels on the show, apart from Zack Gibson, who definitely is the biggest heel on the brand right now. Wolfgang has got to become the second biggest heel after his turn. But yeah, it's definitely building up a great brand, good storytelling throughout both episodes, really, in my opinion. So there you go, guys. That was my NXT UK double bill review. I'm sorry if I made some mistakes during name calling and stuff like that. I do struggle with the names. I always have. But if you do like my videos, please like, subscribe, and press the bell to keep notified. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do it at Boise88 and at Smack Talk YouTube. And I'll see you guys next time on Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews.